I'm a bit ill, so sorry if my voice sounds deep and sensual. It just sounds ill. I just sound gross. My body isn't ill, just it's sort of concentrated around my like throat and chest. Wouldn't it be great if you could just sort of like open your throat like there's a hinge and just take like a cotton bud and just sort of like, come on, out you get, all this grossness, come on. Or just like pluck off your nose and give it a little clean. Started down a weird path. 20 years ago today, on October the 7th, 1997, an album came out. It went multi-platinum, topped the charts, and spawned one of the most successful singles in history. I, however, was too preoccupied in 1997 with the Spice Girls, so I didn't really notice. The album in question is The Velvet Rope. If you didn't know I was talking about Janet Jackson by now, either you're new or I'm insulted. Liking Janet has become part of my brand, for lack of a better phrase, but I've never really explained how or why beyond the fact that she's a fucking icon. At some point I probably will go into depth, but I kind of just briefly want to talk about one album today, because it's its birthday. Whose accent is that? What am I doing? The Velvet Rope is most famous for its singles Got Till It's Gone and Together Again. You will know those tracks, even if you don't think you do. Janet wrote it after a period of depression, as opposed to other albums that took her 2 to 3 months to work on. This one took her 6 months because she kept needing to take breaks. Emotions that she'd repressed and held down growing up in the entertainment industry and also as an African-American woman all sort of made their way to the forefront of her psyche. So she channeled those and they became the foundation for what turned into The Velvet Rope. Because it's the 20th anniversary, there are a lot of articles at the moment about the musical impact of the album. How interesting it is sonically, how she was able to sort of traverse a lot of different musical genres, but do so with a harmony that made you feel like this was a cohesive piece of work. But the thing about The Velvet Rope that always has stuck with me is the content. What's made me so attracted to Janet as an artist, as a poet in a way, is what she says, how she says it, and why she's saying it. The Velvet Rope talks about everything from homophobia to domestic abuse to depression to self-esteem to bi-curiosity. In a previous video I talked about my favourite deep cuts and I mentioned the track Empty, which was about trying to find love in an online world before there really was an online world. She sings about BDSM, she sings about introspection, black power, friends lost to AIDS. This album is so rich in terms of message. It's churlish to say that certain albums wouldn't exist without this one, but when you look at Lemonade or Anti, you can't really ignore the fact that The Velvet Rope paved the way for those albums to exist by Janet taking ownership of herself as a person first and foremost, and the way she chose to interpret her humanity as an artist. And for me, The Velvet Rope has evolved and changed as I have evolved and changed as a person. As I start to understand more about myself and as I start to navigate the path I've chosen to take in my life, The Velvet Rope is there for me to try and help me understand what's going on. The title refers to the idea of when you go to a club and you see a certain area held off by a velvet rope and there's a person who allows some people through. You take that idea and you talk about the velvet rope we place around ourselves. We try and keep people out of certain aspects of our life. And on this album, Janet is taking the rope aside, welcoming people in and saying, this is me. But the other meaning that it has, that is also littered throughout the album, is that we have an intrinsic need as people to feel special. If you're in a club and you see the roped off area and then you see some people let inside, you sit there and you think, oh, that's a person of status. I want to go through that velvet rope. I want to be special. And when we pull the rope aside and let people within us, when we let people see who we are, we afford them a certain level of specialness. You are allowed inside my inner sanctum. You are allowed to see what happens when the wall comes down. And there's such a vulnerability about that idea, both in terms of the person wanting to be special and the person giving someone specialness, that I just really respond to and I think is so profound. Which I think ties into this idea of mediated personality that we've had a conversation about on YouTube for years. When I vlog or I do PMS, I share my personality with you. The person you see on camera is me. I don't give you everything, but I give you a lot. And because I speak directly to camera, when you watch, it's almost like we're eye to eye having a conversation. And because of that, you feel like you know me, you feel like we have a special connection, which manifests in two ways. One really amazing and one that can potentially be a little bit problematic. The amazing part is feeling in a community, feeling like we are people who understand each other. The problematic part is we don't know each other, so sometimes you feel like you can say something to me online and it's all jokes and it's all banter, but I take that and I feel like that's an attack on my personal space, on my personal life, which isn't how you intended, but because of this futuristic method of communication, as well as there being a strong connection, there's an emptiness to it. Which is exactly what the track Empty is about and has made that song different to me as 27-year-old Dan than it was to 17-year-old Dan when I first heard it. And that's what great music is. It's alive, it changes, it speaks to you and you understand it and you unpack layers depending on where you are in your life. An artist will put out music, an artist will put out their own feelings and then we bring ours to it. And of course, I'm not complaining for a second about this connection that I have created with you. But just as I was talking in August about not really knowing who I am or where I'm going, September was a period of introspection, considering what I do, considering what I share, and considering who I let within my velvet rope. And ultimately, do I need to let the velvet rope down in order to feel special? And the weird thing is, I wasn't feeling any of that until I sat down and started filming this video. I have listened to this album countless times. I hope that you give it at least one listen, even if you aren't an R&B pop fan, even if you're just a music fan who's interested in the different eras of music and how we develop as artists. And I feel like there's an awful lot to learn from it, even if you just read the lyric sheet. Oh, look how dark it's got. That's all I have to say about it at the moment. Things are still changing and I'm still figuring things out in my head, and I'm thrilled that I've got Janet there to sort of guide me along the way. And I'm really intrigued to know what you think about the concept of the velvet rope. And if you listen to it, oh my god, I can't wait to hear what you've got to say. Thanks for watching, see you tomorrow.